Now's slow.
Yeah. So let's talk about Ozma. We finally got to the point where everyone actually struggles in the dungeon. This was the one that
everyone dies once.
It was such a cool presentation, by the way, and so visually well done and
actually,
stunning.
Most pug groups I found actually died to the lack of the zombie mechanic from the boss before, not from Ozma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh wow,
really?
Yeah, most pug groups I've done.
That's because the Megadeth is just such a tank mechanic, and if the tank sucks and keeps the boss right next to the puddles, there's nothing you can do.
That is true. Yeah, if you got bag tanks, you're really going to struggle on Forgel. Yeah, so Ozma, we had said earlier, used as a weapon to destroy cities.
Yeah, it's a super weapon.
Yeah, and so, Ethys, tell us about, there's this really cool moment in the Ozma fight where we get sucked into a black hole and we fight, in this other place. What is
a long hiatus,
what is up with
back,
that?
Bitches.
Wow!
Also,
Hang on just a second.
Totals, fellow listeners.
Wow, Miri Kennett tossing in $200.
Damn,
Miri, welcome back. Thank you.
Son of a bitch!
Thank you so much, Miri. Thank you.
Check your Patreon messages.
Yeah. Patreon, by the way, you guys sitting over at patreon.com/limitbreakradio. Our totals are sitting at $18.98. So we're
God.
Almost back above 2,000.
Guys.
Thank you, Ethys. Almost back above 2,000. We do want to see it above 2,000 to be able to continue to make Final Encounter Cast weekly. So while Miri was bringing it up, there's a plug, patreon.com/limitbreakradio. Let's talk about what is inside, I guess, inside
What's
of
inside
Ozma.
Ozma, yeah.
What is,
inside the glory hole.
The glory hole, yeah.
I mean, it's one of the cities that it's been enveloped.
It's
right?
Nim. It's Nim. It's Central Nim. If you have a look below the Atomos mobs that we fight, you see the symbol of Oshin, the warden, who is the patron of Nim. You look around you; it's all Nimian architecture. It's the same textures that you see in Bronze Lake and around the Wanderer's Palace. It is Nim. It is Nim. I will not accept it being anything other than Nim. I'm absolutely convinced on this one. So what has happened, right, in terms of the invasion of Nim? So Nim is renowned for having these military genius scholars, having a very small standing army, but these absolute genius scholars. We've sent in this invisible void sent to give all of these scholars this horrible plague that turns them into tonberries, right?
Right.
So we've crippled their sort of military stratagem, and then we've taken this giant fucking black hole and just drifted it across the center of their city.
Yeah. It is.
I feel like one or the other would have been sufficient to wipe them out.
Right?
But that's what the Marquis are all about. They're all about the overkill, and that's why we got a calamity out of it. They're just fucking horrible little potatoes.
Yeah. It is really.
Wait, are they all Lalafell? Do we know that?
No, they're not all. They're probably not all Lalafell.
They probably are all Lalafell. Now that you think about it, they have genocide written all over them.
Well,
Look,
but I mean,
don't we fight dead
really
Maki people?
No, actually, let's talk about this. Ethys, what can you tell us about the character models of the fallen Makai that we fight?
Well, look, it's bullshit. The character models of every single undead that we fight everywhere forever, even from during periods where we know there were no Hures in Eorzea, they're all Hure models. Every zombie, all the Marquis, all of the Amdapori undead. I just don't think we can take anything from looking at those undead models. I don't know whether that's an oversight. I don't know whether that's something weird about Umbral Ether or some bullshit. But
only Hure can be resurrected.
They really they need to. I mean, if they're very specific about where the origins of each race come from, I think that
and
is.
They are.
Yeah, and exactly. I think that is a huge oversight.
Or is it?
I think honestly, I think it's an oversight.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you.
On my list for questions that I need to nail code you with in October, it's right at the top of the list.
There you go.
So I'm gonna get us an answer for that. I promise.
Or I'm just spitballing here, but maybe this confirms that all Hures are actually zombies and should be eradicated. Nicotes for life. Hashtag.
Well, I mean,
it's
zombie
possible
brands,
that not all
fairly
of
good
these
evidence.
races existed in the city, right? So, I mean, maybe they were all here.
Well, the thing. All right, okay. I'm gonna go into it briefly. Right, we have the Belladines. Okay, are a race of Lalafels. We know that there were no Huras with the Belladines because the Belladines talk about in their history about the first Hure immigrants and invaders coming to Eorzea and how they repelled them and fought them off. Now, the Belladines claim to be direct ancestors of the Marquis. So they can't have been descended from any Hures, presumably.
So
So we have that. We have the only confirmed names that we have of Marquis citizens are Shatoto, who cannot be anything but a Lalafell,
right,
and Califisteri, which is very, very vague. So I suspect, and my headcanon is that they're all Lalafells, and that this is the origins of the Lalafellian scumbag plague that we see all the way through to Uldar. That is not confirmed, and they're loose ends, and I'm trying to tie them up.
Well, if they were Hure invaders, couldn't the Hures have mated with Lalafells to create the next descendants?
Well, not according to Skuro. Skuro says you can't do
That's thousands
Actually-
of years after Marquis fell.
No, actually, Lalafells do not mate. They're just grown in cabbage patches. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah, we do.
I'm okay with that headcanon.
Yes.
So going back to Ozma.
Hold on. Do we really want to move past Lalafell sex? Because Nikki brought it up.
Absolutely.
That's not even what I was trying to bring up, but all right.
We're going to go back to the Sultana's lap. We're going to do another 2015.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
That was a good
Props to
episode.
that one.
That was.
That was fun.
We didn't get a single complaint about that.
side.
Not a single complaint.
No, we didn't get a single complaint about that episode. Not one.
Yeah, none. No, none. So Ozma being used as a weapon to destroy cities, but we're not even really sure what Ozma really is. I mean, it seems like a link between universes or dimensions.
Yeah, it's a link between dimensions. So we the way that we've been talking about this whole mission of the Asians at the moment, and the rejoining or whatever it is that they're calling it,
right,
is that we're describing it scientifically as a dimensional collapse. So it's the idea of like taking dimensions that have scattered and sort of folding them back together. So what I think the Marquis have done is either they've discovered this little pocket dimension and they've somehow contained it, or else they have looked at this kind of theory and gone, well, we could probably make something like that.
So the legend that we have around the destruction of Nim, that it was over-aspected wind crystals and Nim just floated off into Never Never Land.
You know what causes crystals to over-aspect? Blowing the shit out of them.
Phrasing.
That's what causes crystals to over-aspect.
Fair enough. But
so they're not mutually exclusive.
Well, but in the floating city of Nim, when you do go there on the map, there are sections of the city that are floating, and they don't look like they've necessarily been ripped out. It was Nim indeed a floating city that over time, the legend of how it got destroyed it's been like a big game of telephone.
Well, that's possible. The other thing I've thought of with Nim is it a floating city like, the churning mists have floating cities, or is it a floating city like Venice is a floating city?
Okay.
Because we know that Nim was the foremost naval power in the realm at the time. So I think it's quite as likely that it's just these floating islands that are, got wind crystals underneath them. But yeah, you're quite right. And if you look at the floating city of Nim as well, if you look over that, you see a big fucking crater.
Yeah.
You see a big fucking Ozma-shaped crater, I just want to say.
Now, yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and look at that zone because that's definitely really interesting.
I mean, so did they create Ozma specifically to destroy Nim, or did they have other enemies and this was more of like are just going to have this big super weapon on par with a nuke?
We don't actually see any evidence of any other destroyed cities.
Well, that's the thing about super weapons, right? Is you tend to only have to use them once.
You know what? That's kind of a good point. So when we find Ozma, we obviously find it at the Gloriole, which is sort of, I guess it's a docking station for it.
It's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. Gloriole in French means vanity. It's a synonym for vanity, I should say. It doesn't literally mean vanity. And the area below the Gloriole is called the Gallery. So what we have here is a place where the Marquis can go and they can see framed this city that they have consumed and destroyed, and just go and check it out.
Ha ha ha.
Just go and have a circle jerk around.
That's so
this
metal.
Genocide.
They have a museum for people they've mass murdered.
And that's the thing is I really wanted to drive this home, just how terrible as a culture the Makai were. They were terrible people.
They're pretty cool.
No, that's awful.
They sound very, very, very Lalafell.
That's
Teleji Adeleji would have had one of those.
That's sort of that.
Did you say man crush?
That's sort of like the crew of the Enola Gay watching, the Hiroshima footage and jacking off to it. It's terrible.
That's exactly what it's like.
You know what I mean? Like all of those people were guilt-ridden after that, and like this.
Makai were just like, that was sweet.
Yeah, they're just like, ha, jizz. Like it's fuck, man. What an awful, awful culture. And we're not really clear, given context clues or really anything from Ozma, the way that we fight it. We don't really know how it was deployed. We don't really know how they moved it. We don't really know how they called it to a place.
Yeah, how did they call it to Nim without it destroying anything else?
I kind of wondered that as well. Like, did they have to, like...
They have a remote control.
Yeah.
Maybe the pyramid...
Turn on, turn off.
The pyramid flies.
Oh, yeah, it's like the Lunatic Pandora in FF8.
Yeah.
You move it around, and wherever it ends up, that's where it goes.
Why would the pyramid need to fly? That just seems so excessive.
The Makai were all about being understated.
But if Ozma can't absorb the pyramid, it needs something to like stop its power from enveloping their own city.
Maybe it didn't even need to go to Nim physically. Maybe they did something else in Nim that just channeled it into Ozma. They just had their gallery already set up, and that Ozma's just the glass.
I want a cutscene throwback to Nim where there's just these two guys hanging around like on a boat. Just be like, wow, winds are
Just
pretty good
looking
today.
real
Oh shit,
shifty.
flying pyramid.
Sorry, I can't hear you over the sound of my giant throbbing erection.
Man, Genocide's funny.
Can I re-roll as Makai? Because these guys are fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's called Lalafell.
Yeah, there you go.
Join us.
Yeah, pretty much.
No.
Lalafell in their current iteration just aren't...
Sadistic enough?
Yeah.
I mean, we've got some pretty corrupt Lalafell and Oldai.
Yeah, there are some pretty terrible Lalafell. Ozma is such a fascinating enemy, and I mean, it's not even really clear how like we're able to defeat it.
You're literally poking an atomic warhead with a spear.
Like we get sucked into a world.
Exactly.
Yeah, into a world where Nim never came back from, and we're able to just like come in and then come out.
The Nim people weren't able to kill Dark Ozma in there.
Well, they didn't have the DPS check, okay?
I was saying this like when...
I mean, does it have to do with the Echo, maybe?
When people were wiping to it, I don't know what it has to do with. When people were wiping to it and they're complaining about, oh, this is fucking bullshit, losing Ozma and stuff. I'm like, let's put this in a lore perspective, right?
Right.
Ozma would eat the face off Bahamut or anything else that we fought. It is in a league above anything else. The only thing that we have over it is intelligence, presumably. I don't know how we beat it. Having the echo, having our soul able to remain intact and pass between, these barriers of dimensions, that would have been absolutely critical. There's no way we could have done it without the echo. You're right. But all the same, it's insane.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that it is probably my favorite fight that exists in this game right now.
Really?
Yeah, I really do think so. The mechanics that they put in with it are perfectly tuned to the amount of people that you have in the fight. It takes communication, or at least everyone just operating off of the same context, all three parties. And I think that is one of the coolest aspects of the 24-man raids that is not taken advantage of enough, and they really took advantage of it in this fight. And I think it was very, very well done.
Found a really nice medium between being frustrated at having three parties that don't know what the fuck they're doing, and it being completely face roll. I found that this is like the perfect sort of mid-core difficulty level was this fight. I agree with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. So